Hello students, in the last session we have discussed inheritance. In that we have studied what is inheritance, how inheritance is implemented in Java programming language, and we have also seen one example program on inheritance. In today's session we will continue our discussion of inheritance. We will discuss different forms of inheritance in Java. So let's start. So we have different forms of inheritance. The first here, it is single inheritance. In single inheritance we have only one superclass and a subclass. So that is single inheritance. Then multiple inheritance, as the name says, multiple inheritance, where we have several superclasses, so multiple superclasses. That is why it is called as multiple inheritance. Then another form is hierarchical inheritance. In hierarchical inheritance we have one superclass and many subclasses, more subclasses inheriting from one superclass. Then we have multi-level inheritance. In multi-level inheritance, derived from a derived class. So we inherit from a class which is inheriting from some other class, that is multi-level inheritance. And the same has been demonstrated here with a diagram. So let us look at this diagram. The first is, suppose we have two classes, class A and class B, class A and B. So class B is inheriting from class A, or you can say class B is extending class A. So if you look at this diagram, we have one superclass, this is a superclass A, and we have one child class or subclass, that is B. So this type of inheritance is called as single inheritance, one superclass and one child class. Then the next form is, you can see here we have classes A, B and classes C, class C. And if class C is inheriting from A and B both, class C is inheriting here from two superclasses, then it is called as multiple inheritance. Then it is called as multiple inheritance. So we have two superclasses and one subclass. So this form is called as multi-level inheritance. Okay. Then hierarchical. Suppose we have classes A, B, C and D, and classes B, C and D all are inheriting from a single superclass, then it is called as hierarchical inheritance. In a hierarchical inheritance we have one superclass and many subclasses. You can see many subclasses. B, C and D are subclasses and we have only one superclass, that is A. Then it is hierarchical inheritance. In case of multi-level inheritance, we suppose we have class A, B and C, and class C is inheriting from class B, and class B in turn it is inheriting from class A. Then it is called as multi-level inheritance. C is inheriting from B and B is inheriting from A. So it is multi-level inheritance. There are different forms of inheritance. We are discussing here only 4 important forms of inheritance. In that too, Java doesn't support the second form of inheritance. Remember, Java doesn't support multiple inheritance. So this type of inheritance is not supported by Java, but other programming languages like C++ supports multiple inheritance. Okay, the same thing we will see now with the programming code, how it can be implemented. Okay, this is first form, that is single inheritance, how it can be used in programming. So suppose we have a class A with its own data fields and method, and then class B with its own data fields and methods, and class B is extending class A. You can say class B is inheriting class A. So in this example, we have a superclass A and subclass B. Means there is only one superclass and there is only one subclass, and that is the reason this is called a single inheritance. Okay, one more thing to remember here: when class B inherits class A, I said it inherits all the properties of class A, but there is one important thing. When we inherit a class, the private properties of a class are not inherited. In inheritance, we can inherit the other properties, but the private properties which are defined in the class are private to that class. So those properties cannot be inherited by any other class. Okay. Then multi-level inheritance. So we have class A having its properties and class B with its own properties, and suppose we have a class C which is inheriting from two classes. Here it is inheriting from class A and class B. So multiple inheritance, C is inheriting from A and B, but as I have said, this form of inheritance is not supported by Java. So this type of inheritance extends A comma B, or inheriting from multiple classes, is not supported by Java. Okay, next, in case of hierarchical inheritance, we have class A, class B. Now class B inherits class A, and then we have a class C which is again inheriting from class A. So we have two child classes here and one superclass. In hierarchical, we have one superclass and many subclasses. So this form is called as hierarchical inheritance. You may have again some more subclasses. Here you can have a class D which is again inheriting class A. So here it is class B is inheriting A, and even class C is inheriting class A, and you may have D that is to inheriting class A, then it is hierarchical inheritance. Then multi-level inheritance, where we have a class A, class B and class C. Now class B is inheriting class A, it is inheriting class A, and class C is inheriting class B, it is inheriting class B. And you may have one more or any number of classes down here. You may have class D which is inheriting class C, and like this multiple levels of inheritance, and that is the reason it is called as multi-level inheritance. In multi-level inheritance, the class B inherits the properties of class A, means all the properties of class A excluding the private properties are also the properties of class B, and when class C inherits B, all the properties of B including the properties of A are now properties of class C. Means class C contains or it inherits properties from both the classes. It inherits from A as well as B, and it is multi-level inheritance. Okay, that's it about different forms of inheritance. We will stop here today. Thank you.